Delinquency debacle. First tonight on Our News Live at 7, the Social Security Chief calling out government agencies for failure to pay NIB. We'll tell you next steps for collection. Preparing for retirement. A contributory pension plan for public servants soon off to unions for feedback. Plus, spotlight on sickle cell disease. The free testing this weekend to help you take control of your health. And then in our news at 7:30, this viral video showing a battle between police and civilians. We'll show you how it all unfolded as the National Security Minister reacts. Our News Live at 7 starts right now. Welcome to Our News Live at 7. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Kendino Knowles. Numerous government agencies have not been paying NIB contributions. The state minister responsible revealing as much today. Berthany McDermott tells us government's next steps, including enhanced compliance efforts.
Some government agencies and departments haven't made NIB contributions in months and in some instances years, according to State Minister Miles Laroda. Laroda telling reporters ahead of the weekly cabinet meeting that talks of large businesses being the biggest offenders aren't true.
The government cannot be asking everybody else to be compliant when government agencies, some of them haven't been paying or paying consistently in the past. Some agencies have been a few years.
The Pinewood MP says government is looking to enhance compliance, in particular with government agencies. In May 2022, Laroda told the local daily that tens of millions were owed to the National Insurance Board for delinquent employers and self-employed individuals. This latest revelation comes as residents and businesses brace for an NIB rate increase in July 2024. While he didn't reveal what that will look like, Laroda foreshadows NIB will not make a profit for a while.
Once we have the whole regime rolled out, we don't expect to turn to black until somewhere within the next 4 to 6 years. And so we are, in the meantime, trying to enhance compliance.
Given the financial hardship of the company, Laroda was asked if NIB intends to right-size the agency.
We have to be careful when we look at administrative costs and not take it in its entirety. Those of us who live in Nassau and have elderly parents or grandparents in the Out Islands, say the Southern Islands, should the grandmother or pensioner in Maguana not have access to national insurance? Should they wait for somebody to come from Nassau to hear their case? And so let us be guided as we look at figures and not understand holistically what those costs entail.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
All right, thanks, Berthany. Well, don't get annoyed with the Marcos alert. That advice coming from National Security Minister Wayne Munro, who is cautioning Bahamians to stay alert. In recent weeks, multiple alerts for missing children have been sent out, but not without criticism from some people about the process. During the budget debate this evening, Munro asking all to pay close attention to the alerts.
Do not become annoyed at receiving them. That is somebody's child. These alerts are going out for a reason. We ask you to pay attention to them. Either the young lady is legitimately abducted, or even if she isn't, if you look at it and she's under 16, there's still a crime being committed if that's what you think she is out doing.
The National Security Minister also stressing the need for everyone to pay attention. He says once the alert is issued, the electronic blast is sent to every cell phone on the BTC and Alive networks.
I would say to the public, insofar as Marco's alert is concerned, if you're not getting them, adjust your BTC phone to receive them. It is a troubling matter, Madam Speaker, that Marco's alert rings off often with a young lady who is missing. It is important, Madam Speaker, that we do not get casual in that and make the assertion that this is just somebody going out to have fun.
All right, and we'll have more from the budget debate as we are learning of draft legislation for a contributory pension plan for public servants. We'll get to that in a moment, but now to this. Police seizing more than 9 pistols and 123 rounds of ammunition over the past week. 10 people, including 8 men, 1 woman and a juvenile, have been arrested and are expected to be charged. The suspects were caught by officers attached to various police operations. And we've got more to get to in a moment, including that draft legislation for a public service contributory pension plan. But for now, we'll check in with forecaster Ian McKenzie. He's in the Weather Center with your first look at temperatures. Ian?
Thanks, Gindino, and good evening, Bahamas. Welcome to your first look at weather for this evening. Currently outside our studios, we're under mostly fair skies with a temperature of 83 degrees. Our winds out of the southeast at 8 miles per hour with a feels-like temperature of 83. Current temperatures across the northwest Bahamas at this time. In Freeport City, we have 85, 84 in Marsh Harbor, Abaco, 86 in Alistown, Bimini, 83 in Great Harbor, Key to Berries, 84 in Governor's Harbor, and also 84 in Nicholstown with 83 in the capital. In the central Bahamas, we have 85 in Kemps Bay, Andres, 84 in Georgetown, Exuma, another 84 in Deadman's Key, 83 in Artistown, Kid Island, and 81 Cool Spot in Coburn Town, San Salvador. In the southeast Bahamas, we have several 85s at Duncantown, Ragged Island, Delectable Bay, Acklands, and 85 in Colonel Hill. Also, rounding up 85s is Abraham's Bay, Miaguana. We have a pair of 86s in Matthewtown, in Nagua, and our neighbors to the far southeast, the Turks, Providenciales, also at 86. Here's your first look at our satellite and radar at this time. Again, we see persistent cloudiness and some pockets of thunderstorms associated with that mid to upper level trough that's been pretty persistent here in the eastern Gulf. This will continue to spread some showers and thunderstorms across our area with eventual clearing through tomorrow. That's your first look at weather. Stay tuned. More weather is still to come.
On the road to 50, when our news comes back from the break, 12 fashion designers send patriotic looks down the runway in a national Jubilee fashion show. But first, the road to retirement. Find out the draft legislation that's expected to help public servants better prepare. And the nearly $1 million investment helping secure the future of the country's #1 industry. When our news returns. The National Public Service Scholars Program will be brought to Cabinet for approval this week. State Minister for Public Service Pia Glover-Roll revealing as much in Parliament during her 2023-2024 budget communication.
This collaboration with the University of the Bahamas will provide training and educational opportunities to prepare public servants for promotions and upskill them so that they can do their best work. As public service policies are updated and upgraded, our workforce will be as well. We will make sure that every public servant who wants to educate themselves will be able to be trained, certified, qualified, and accredited.
And now to that draft legislation for a contributory pension plan that the State Public Services Minister says will soon be presented to public sector unions for feedback.
Ideally, the way this will work is that the benefits will be larger on average than those experienced under the existing plan and will also be proportionate to the amount of public servant contributions. The more you contribute, the more you will receive. Existing public servants will still be entitled to their current pension plan as well as NIB, but they will be able to opt into this contributory pension plan so that when they retire, they will receive NIB benefits, the existing pension plan benefits, as well as the expanded benefits from the contributory pension plan.
And now to the country's #1 industry, the Nassau Paradise Island Promotion Board signing a $750,000 memorandum of understanding with the University of the Bahamas. It's in an effort to boost hospitality and tourism education. President Joy Jubilee.
$250,000 of funding will go into the establishment of the Direct Award, which will provide $50,000 per year for 5 years to support up to 8 students at a time, funding 2 new awardees per year for the duration of their studies. Another $500,000 of funding will go into the Endowment Fund, which is expected to be fully capitalized within 5 years.
UB President Eric Rolland and Chairman of the Board of Trustees Alice and Maynard Gibson calling the gift a landmark investment.
This award ensures that we have the resources to facilitate a continuous pipeline of excellent talent to our tourism and hospitality industry. Together with NPIPB, UB's goal is to support the next generation of students in the field of tourism management.
With this landmark investment in our students, like the trailblazers before them, we will see larger numbers of UB alumni as hotel owners, general managers, and leaders of large and small resorts.
And 12 fashion designers sending patriotic fashions down the runway in the National Jubilee Fashion Show on Friday night. The glamorous runway show taking place at Bahamas, models stepping out in bold styles showcasing Bahamian culture. We spoke with a few designers backstage, Cardell McClam and Cedric Bernard, both saying it's an honor to be selected.
And I am so excited, so honored. Like words cannot convey how they have chosen me out of so much people to be a part of such an iconic event for 50 years. That's longer than I've been on Earth, and I'm in the league of icons. Like that's insane. So I am ecstatic.
I am like Ziploc glad and hippopotamus happy. I am so happy just to be remembered, because so many times you can slip through the crack and be forgotten. But in this 50th year, I was remembered, and I am happy. I am proud to be Bahamian. I'm proud to be a Bahamian designer, and I'm proud to be here.
Anthea Bullard, a designer out of Grand Bahama, had this advice for others who are up and coming.
Just be true to yourself. Stick to your design ethic, and just do what you believe in. It's tough because people try to keep you within the box. Don't be in that box. Think outside of the box. Be as creative as you can be, and just let the sky be your limit.
When our news comes back from the break, we turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world as former U.S. President Donald Trump has pleaded not guilty to charges of alleged mishandling of classified documents. Plus, the custody battle for kids who survived a plane crash in Colombia. And later, a Parkinson's appeal. The local foundation needs your help amid a funding and manpower shortage. The story when our news continues. This is our news. Welcome back. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has pleaded not guilty to 37 charges of alleged mishandling of classified documents. Lawyers for the former president asked for a jury trial during today's arraignment at a federal courthouse in Miami. During the hearing, Trump, who sat hunched over with his arms crossed, did not speak. Trump's aide, Walt Nauta, was also arrested, fingerprinted, and processed, and is expected to be arraigned on June 27th. Canadian police say they have opened an investigation into allegations China sought to intimidate Conservative MP Michael Chong and his family over his criticism of Beijing. The Canadian police chief said the investigation is one of several by the federal force that's looking into foreign election interference. China has denied the claims. Last month, Canada expelled a Chinese diplomat over the allegations, and in retaliation, China accused Canada of slander and defamation and expelled a Canadian diplomat based in Shanghai. And an Ecuadorian woman, thought to be dead, left mourners startled when they discovered she was still alive. On Friday, 76-year-old Bella Montoya was declared dead by a doctor following a suspected stroke and cardiac arrest. She was placed in a coffin and taken to a funeral parlor where relatives held a vigil before her planned burial. However, Montoya started banging on the coffin. Video taken by a mourner shows her struggling to breathe, waiting for an ambulance to arrive. The Ecuador Ministry of Health says it is investigating the doctors. And the custody battle has broken out among relatives of 4 Indigenous children who survived a plane crash and 40 harrowing days alone in the Amazon rainforest in Colombia. The siblings, ranging from age 1 to 13, remain hospitalized as Colombia's Child Protection Agency is interviewing family members to determine who should care for them after their mother died in the May 1st crash. And finally, the World Bank is advising small Caribbean countries to accelerate private sector development to improve investment in climate. In its latest report, titled The Caribbean Regional Private Sector Diagnostic, the organization noted measures to reduce cross-cutting constraints to private investment, such as gaps in connectivity and skills mismatches, and break the region's current low-growth, low-productivity trend. Now, countries covered by the report included Antigua and Barbuda, the Bahamas, Barbados, Belize, Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, and others. The World Bank says these countries face major cross-cutting constraints, and addressing them would foster an environment more conducive to trade, investment, and growth. When we return, Today in History, find out interesting facts about the day that was June 13th and the 2012 visit of a popular reality show judge. And then in our news at 7:30, help on the way for Exuma flood victims grappling after last week's 23 inches of rain. And the trial of Long Island MP Adrian Gibson expected to continue this month after the Court of Appeal gives the green light. The story when Our News returns. Welcome back to Our News. It's time now to turn our spotlight on events that shaped the day that was June 13th. Take a look. On this day in Bahamian history in 2012, the Royal Bahamas Defense Force announced the launch of its reserve program. The first 22 reservists completed new entry training on May 26th that year. Also in 2012, star of popular reality courtroom show Judge Joe Brown came to the Bahamas and made courtesy calls on senior government officials, including then Prime Minister Perry Christie. Judge Joe engaged in a private discussion on the subject of swift justice and described the Bahamas as hope for the hemisphere. Then in 2013, a Sky Bahamas plane coming from the United States carrying nearly 24 passengers crash-landed at the Marsh Harbor Airport in Abaco. CEO Captain Randy Butler confirmed there was no loss of life and said preliminary reports indicated there were no major injuries.
I understand on touching down on the runway, something happened where the airplane exited the runway, skidded off the runway is what I'm hearing right now. All passengers, I understand, are well. We're very thankful for that. Understand pilot did a good job.
Then in 2017, former Member of Parliament for Michael V. Alfred Gray flatly denied that more than 40 Auckland's residents were hired on contract just a day or two before the last general election. Gray slammed then Deputy Prime Minister Peter Turnquest for making what he called an unfortunate statement, insisting Turnquest needed to provide proof to support his claims.
I got from the Prime Minister at the time that if these people performed well, and they fulfill the requirements as laid down by the expectation, they would have a job. And so for the Deputy Prime Minister to speak publicly about a 3 months contract for the employees who were hired in Auckland's, I'd like to challenge him to produce that contract.
June 13th, 2018, some 200 gaming house employees showed up at British Colonial Hilton for a morning town hall meeting seeking clarity on government's proposed sliding scale tax increases. Many of them furious with government and said they were not only in fear for their jobs, but for their families.
In my opinion and the standpoint that we are at right now, obviously it is not our intended purpose for there to be any potential job losses. But unfortunately, if things continue on the impeded trend that it's on now, we might have to look at the possibility of downsizing.
Once the taxes are enforced, we're going to have to cut back. The biggest cost in operations, as everyone knows, is labor.
In 2019, Belinda Wilson was elected for a 5th consecutive term as president of the Bahamas Union of Teachers. As members headed to the polls, Wilson telling Our News her work over the years spoke for itself. Then in 2021, The Adventure of the Seas officially set sail from the port of Nassau. Some 1,100 visitors from around the world had to be COVID tested by a team from Doctors Hospital before boarding the ship. And in 2022, Long Island MP Adrian Gibson was arraigned on charges of corruption during his time as executive chairman of the Water and Sewerage Corporation. And finally, in the same year, the Special Olympics team returned home with some big wins after competing in the 2022 USA Games. The team that competed in various disciplines, including athletics, arrived home to a hero's welcome with a number of medals in tow. All right, well, funds and manpower are the two most urgent things needed for the Kingdor National Parkinson Foundation. It's according to President Mavis Darling-Hill. The foundation, founded in 2000, hosts caregivers workshops to support those caring for loved ones with Parkinson's and educational campaigns like speech competitions and the Moving Day campaign in hopes of raising awareness. But Darling-Hill says their options are limited without financial support.
Seriously, we definitely need funds to get going because we want to be able to help persons who come to us needing assistance. Right now, for the most part, we've been doing education.
Now, where they can't get monetary donations, Darling-Hill says they're hoping to attract those who are willing to at least volunteer their time. She tells us the foundation is in need of committed volunteers who are willing to work in the name of the cause.
But manpower, we need persons who are going to be dedicated. The thing about it is, and I think many organizations are really experiencing similar situations where people want to be a part, but they do not want to work. So, and nonprofit organizations, we cannot afford to give funds. So we have found that to be very difficult.
And our very own Chief Alive Officer John Gomez, he's one of the hardworking allies of the Kingdor National Parkinson Foundation. Be sure and stay tuned at 7:30. Marmalena Leonard has a story of how he was selected for the foundation's prestigious award and the message he has for those wanting to also make a difference. And now to sickle cell disease. Do you know if you have it or whether you have the sickle cell trait? Well, you can find out this weekend at a health fair that's focusing on raising awareness. Sasha Lightbourne reports.
Sickle cell is an hereditary group of red blood cell disorders due to an abnormality in a protein known as hemoglobin.
That's Decrizia Bartlett, the founder of Sickle Talk, a platform on Facebook which she shares information of her personal experience with sickle cell disease.
I think it's important to know your sickle cell status because as an individual with sickle cell disease, I've experienced a lot of pain in my life. And sickle cell disease, in my opinion, it's preventable. It's like many other genetic disorders. Once you know your status, you're able to have an informed decision, an informed conversation with your partner and then make a decision.
And if you feel you may have the disease, Bartlett says there are some common symptoms to look out for.
Some symptoms of the disease may be like jaundice, which is the yellowing of my eyes, and that's just due to the fast breakdown of cells in my body. Another symptom would be exhaustion, anemia, our size, late development. People are always fatigued or may also be in pain.
If you want to find out more about sickle cell disease, Bartlett is hosting a Know Your Status mini health fair on Saturday at 10 a.m. at the Walk-In Clinic's Marathon Mall location.
In conjunction with the Walk-In Clinic, we're hosting a mass sickle cell status testing event so people can come out, get tested, and learn about their sickle cell status for free. And in addition to sickle cell screening, there will also be other screenings like BMI, weight, blood glucose, blood sugar. We're going to have prizes, and more. The Bahamas Sickle Cell Association will be a featured guest.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Sasha Lightbourne.
All right, thanks a lot, Sasha. To watch that story again and for all of today's top stories, you can visit ournews.bs. That does it for us at News at 7. Joining us now is Italia Hall. She's got the latest headlines. Italia?
All right, Ken, thanks so much. Well, the trial of Long Island MP Adrian Gibson expected to continue this month after the Court of Appeal gives the green light. And help is on the way for Exuma flood victims. Here are your latest headlines.
A nighttime brawl goes viral first tonight on Our News Live at 7:30. A video showing police officers and civilians in a fight making the rounds on social media. The National Security Minister is addressing the situation. This, as he says, police sometimes have to make judgment calls.
If, however, in all of this you are injured or damaged, the police themselves tell you, get your invoices, bring them in so it can be addressed.
Plus, help is on the way for residents in Exuma following adverse weather conditions over the weekend. And later, an esteemed honor for the CEO of a major telecommunications company. Our News Live at 7:30 starts in a moment.
Welcome to Our News and thank you for joining us. I'm Italia Hall. A viral video showing police officers in an altercation with individuals has made the rounds on social media. National Security Minister Wayne Munroe sharing that while he's not been fully briefed on the incident, those involved were arrested.
That was the information I received, and no doubt they'll be charged with assaulting police officers in their execution of their duty, resisting arrest, all that. A citizen has a choice. If the police approach you and speak with you, you could decide to become belligerent, and matters can escalate to that point.
Munroe says while it's improper to engage in altercations with officers, there are other ways to deal with matters where residents feel they've been arrested without valid reason.
Let's assume that they say they suspect them of having drugs or firearms. The men would have no way of knowing what's the basis of that suspicion. But if you take it upon yourself to not simply ask them, what's the basis of your suspicion? If they determine to illegally arrest you, detain you, the courts are there for you to go get your rights vindicated and get damages from the state. Or you could decide to get in an open fight with armed policemen. And if as a country we find that an acceptable way to vindicate rights, then we really are in trouble.
Well, days after a nursing mom was shot by police, Munroe telling reporters officers have to make tough decisions, but they may not always be the right decision. Our Joshua Williams reports.
National Security Minister Wayne Munroe responding to critics who have spent the last 2 days calling out police for mistakenly shooting a breastfeeding mother as they were executing a search warrant. Munroe says officers have to make judgment calls when entering dangerous situations.
The police have to make a judgment whether they can safely enter premises, where they can be fired upon, and how they will enter those premises. If they confront a premises with a lot of locked gates and pit bulls, they may make a judgment that may not be accurate, but they make a judgment.
During the ordeal, the woman's partner was arrested after seeing the injured mom.
He would have been understandably upset, so I should hope that that would be understood by prosecuting authorities so that there would be no further action on that.
In cases when police are wrong, Munroe says the state does its best to rectify and repair damaged property.
The police often damage property in executing search warrants. They advise the public when that happens. You get a quote, you take it to the police, and we will repair your property.
When asked about backlash over the most recent police-involved shooting, Munroe says while unfortunate, officers have a job to do.
The police, certainly one would regret any bystander being struck. The police have a job to do that is very difficult. Every day they leave home, they hope to get back home. We've had a policeman shot in a pursuit. So all of this are matters that they take into consideration. We ask for the assistance of the public, particularly in letting the police know who has these guns and where they are.
Munroe says the man officers were searching for had initially escaped, but returned to the home where he was arrested. Reporting for Our News, I'm Joshua Williams.
All right, thanks, Josh. Well, a teen girl was sexually assaulted, and now police need your help in finding the man they say did it. The frightening incident happening around 3 p.m. on Monday Police say that's when the 17-year-old accepted a ride from a stranger who was driving a small light blue vehicle on Robinson Road. The man took the victim to his home off Robinson Road, where he forced her out of her car, and into his home where he assaulted her. Investigations are continuing. Supplies are on their way to Exuma to help the hundreds of Exuma residents impacted by wild weather over the last few days. Residents experienced torrential flooding over the past 5 days, resulting in severe flooding. State Minister with responsibility for disaster management, Miles Zarota, says those supplies will arrive today.
The Lawrence Major, I think, is supposed to arrive sometime in Exuma, sometime today, with equipment and supplies to deal in particular with the flooding situations there. I gave an account yesterday of pumps and dewatering pumps, as a matter of fact, mosquito spraying equipment.
Another assessment is planned for the island, this time with NEMO officials. This follows an assessment by the Prime Minister on Monday.
Another team will be from NEMO would be there. The Director of NEMA, Captain Russell, said is going also. I extended an invitation to the Leader of the Opposition, so we probably will go into Exuma later this week. The budget debate is going on, so it'll probably be sometime around Friday.
All right, well, a fairly sunny day, but there's some more rain expected tonight. Forecaster Ian McKenzie is in the Weather Center with a first look at weather. Ian?
Thanks, Natalia, and good evening, Bahamas. Here's a first look at weather. Currently outside our studios, we're under mostly fair skies with a temperature of 83 degrees. Our winds out of the southeast at 8 miles per hour with a feels-like temperature of 80. Taking a look at our satellite and our radar imagery at this time, we still have a few lingering showers, some embedded thunderstorms, courtesy of that mid to upper level trough that's been pretty much stubborn just to the east of the Gulf of Mexico. This will continue to pump some moisture, but this should dwindle as the night progresses into tomorrow, and we should see some clearing. Stay tuned. Our extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, easy as 1, 2, 3. Travelers using the new customs exempt app embrace the new technology. Also, a budget increase has local government practitioners breathing a sigh of relief. And later, an esteemed honor for the CEO of Alive, how a local foundation plans to salute him for his invaluable contributions. That's all coming up when our news returns.
If new, Heineken Silver was a riveting Viking saga.
Lars the 12th, your family tortured my first wife and stole my second favorite goat. Now you want to marry my daughter. Okay.
All the taste, no bitter endings. Smooth, fresh, silver.
The Court of Appeal has given the green light for the corruption trial of embattled FNM MP Adrian Gibson to continue this month. The High Court lifted a temporary stay of the proceedings on Tuesday after dismissing an appeal against a decision by Justice Cheryl Grant Thompson that Gibson's right to fair trial had not been breached. A reason for the dismissal is expected at a later date. Gibson and his 5 co-accused are scheduled to appear before Justice Grant Thompson on June 27th for the continuation of their trial. Gibson is accused of getting $1.1 million in kickbacks from contracts awarded by the Water and Sewerage Corporation while he served as its executive chairman from 2018 to 2021. Designed to make traveling easier for passengers, Bahamas Customs launching its new exempt app this week. Travelers are asked to download the app. Once installed on your phone, you'll be required to create an account, scan your passport, and click the C-17 form and accompanied baggage tab. Our news team speaking with Exuma resident Barry Brown today, who says he used the app and the process was easy.
You don't got to go through that toe on that line, just throw in your apps and get it done. We just go under the necessary stuff and get it in quickly, and then that was it, one shot.
Now instructional videos are available on YouTube. Traveler Faye July says she wasn't aware of the app and declared her items the traditional way. But July thinks the app is a good idea.
If I had known, I would prefer to use the app because, it's going to be a little easier. In the age of technology, and it's more convenient.
Our focus now on Family Islands as local government officials, local government councils are breathing a sigh of relief as they'll be getting more money in the upcoming fiscal year. Minister of Agriculture, Family Island Affairs and Local Government Clay Sweeting making the announcement during the budget debate in Parliament this week. He says they'll see a 10% increase in their operational budget.
I know sometimes that 10% don't sound like much, so I pulled out the budget. For Freeport, Marco City, your council gets extra $71,000 to do some things in your constituency. South Eleuthera gets $56,000 extra per annum. Central Eleuthera, $54,000. North Andros, $55,000. Barry Islands, $72,000. West End gets extra $71,000 per year.
Sweeting says having sat in the chair as a local government practitioner, he knows firsthand the challenges that townships face. Currently, the Department of Local Government has 356 staffers and 512 local government practitioners throughout the 33 Family Island districts.
During the fiscal year, 16 persons were confirmed in posts, increasing the personal emoluments by $17,250 and back pay paid by the Ministry of Public Service totaling $247,000. 9 persons are expected to come over from the Public Service Professional Engagement Program onto the permanent and pensionable establishment.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute, brought to you by RF, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
When our news comes back from the break, a prestigious award presented to the CEO of Alive by a local foundation. Hear why he says the award took him by surprise.
High school track athletes showcase their skills in Florida, plus a Bahamian wins an NCAA track and field title. And we hear from coaches and players in last week's primary school soccer championship in Grand Bahama. We'll be right back with our sports.
And later, the countdown is on to Father's Day. Our Jamila Mizik tells us how residents will be celebrating the annual observance on Sunday.
This Father's Day, when we celebrate it, usually it's just like you said, a quiet day, dinner and in the household.
That's coming up when our news continues.
At Doctors Hospital, our lamp just got brighter. The Loyalty Advantage membership program now has 3 unique plans to choose from. From Lamp Prepaid with free prime care visits and service line discounts, Lamp Insured with copay waivers and 0 upfront collections at the ER and inpatient services, or our new Lamp Access, a free plan that offers 10% off labs, pharmacy, and imaging. Lamp has a plan for everyone. To sign up, visit our website or give us a call. Doctors Hospital, trusted and best care now.
This is our news. Welcome back. Chief Alive Officer John Gomez set to get a major honor from the Kingdor National Parkinson Foundation. Our Marlena Leonard spoke to Gomez and the foundation's president about the award and the impact the foundation has had on his life.
We're doing it because you deserve it. We're not just doing it because you're CEO here. We're doing it because we want the Bahamian people to understand and appreciate your heart.
That's Kingdor National Parkinson Foundation President Mavis Darling-Hill describing why they decided to honor Chief Alive Officer John Gomez. Gomez will be receiving the prestigious award from the Kingdor National Parkinson Foundation's annual ball this month. He says the call to tell him he was being honored took him by surprise.
I'm a type of person who don't like the glitz and glamour. I prefer being behind the scene and just giving the support that is essential, that's needed in order to make things to be a success.
Gomez has been involved with the foundation for over a decade.
Perhaps about 15 years ago, I became aware or began to understand the work that they were doing, and this is what caused me to become involved with the Parkinson Foundation. But it's more so in terms of people who needed assistance and help. And that's what kind of drove me and led me to wanting to be a part of what was happening.
Although Gomez doesn't have any close family affected by Parkinson's, he says raising awareness is a major part in helping.
For me, it's just about helping people. And regardless in terms of where they are or who they are, I just feel the desire or the urge to help.
Now, the Alive CEO wants to help motivate others to find a cause that matters to them and find a way to give back, even if it's just with their time.
There's so many different ways in which you can help. Many times people think that the only way that you can help is giving monetarily. And I think that's the most terrible thing that anyone can think of. Just spending the time with someone, spending a few minutes with them, giving them a few words of kindness in terms of encouragement and what have you, those are things that stay with people their entire lives and something that people will always love and appreciate.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
Today's sports update is sponsored by Michelob Ultra, distributed in the Bahamas by Jimmy's Wines and Spirits.
Elite high school athletes showcase their skills at the IMG Academy. A Bahamian wins an NCAA track and field title, and we talked to some primary school soccer champions in Grand Bahama. Here's Tej Adderley with a check on sports. Tej?
Thanks, Natalia. Good evening. Welcome to Our Sports. I'm Tej Adderley. Bahamian high school athletes participated in the Stride for Stride National Scholarship Invitational in Florida recently. We talked to the athletes and a sponsor about this valuable opportunity. Track and field athletes Rihanna Todd, Kevin East Hanna, and Ivan East Charlton competed in the National Scholarship Invitational at the prestigious IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. The event featured unsigned track and field athletes performing in front of U.S. college coaches for the opportunity to pick up some scholarships.
I was nervous. I was in my head. I didn't let my mind control the whole race, which was a bad thing. Especially how it's my first experiences, like to the finish line, just waiting, and it got me kind of nervous. However, I still tried, and they drive me to do better.
Rihanna Todd participated in the decathlon for the first time too.
Okay, I'll be honest. At first, I was nervous. I don't know why, but there's still little butterflies. But as I continued through the events, just started to feel like a regular track meet for me, and my confidence came up.
Latoya Hannah Moxie, CEO of the Hannaway Group, collaborated with the NSI to send these athletes to Florida.
And so there were about 20 universities and recruiters that were present at IMG that were looking at some of the talent that we have here in Nassau. And we're hoping, this is the first of many, and we're hoping that with the athletes that we took to compete, that this is something we can continue to do on an annual basis.
Last week, we brought you results from the primary school soccer championships in Grand Bahama. Today, we'll hear from the coaches and some athletes. In last week's Grand Bahama soccer finals, Freeport Primary got the win in the girls division, beating Bishop Michael Eldon 3-0. Freeport Primary girls head coach Ravano Ferguson knew that his team showed up prepared to win.
They came in with confidence, and they went undefeated this season. They came into the championship game knowing they already played BMES earlier in the season and beat them 4-0. So they came in with extra confidence going into this championship that they know they're going to walk away.
Bishop Michael Eldon did take the hardware in the boys division, however, winning 4-0 over Tabernacle. Stone Higgs was their MVP. Here's what head coach Gino Jones had to say about his boys' win.
Well, the boys played exceptionally well from start to finish. The whole team, I'm really proud of them. It's been a fun season with the guys, especially those who are graduating.
There were some talented kids up there. That's all for sports today. I'm Tej Adderley.
Still ahead on Our News tonight, Father's Day is right around the corner. How will you spend the day honoring your dad? Our Jamila Mizik talks with residents about the big day. Plus, wet weather continues across the islands tonight, but you may see some sun tomorrow. Ian is back with a check on conditions in the extended weather forecast when Our News returns. Stay with us.
First we plan, then we innovate, then we build. At Bahamas Striping Group of Companies, we are committed to quality, to safety, and to service. We know that the road you take is just as important as your final destination. At Bahamas Striping Group of Companies, it is our job to make sure the road and the ride are as smooth as possible. From striping roads to building them. We are the right choice. the trusted choice, the only choice to help you build your tomorrow.
Welcome back to our news. Lots of rain over the past week and more is expected before we see some more stable weather conditions across the islands. Forecaster Ian McKenzie is back in the Weather Center with your extended weather forecast. Ian?
Thanks, Natalia, and welcome back to Bahamas to your extended forecast. Again, taking a look at our satellite picture where we still have this persistent plume of moisture across our area. This should eventually move to the east of us as this mid to upper level system also moves east of the country. Here's a look at your boating forecast for the northwest and central islands. Winds will be southerly at 10 to 15 knots, falling light and variable at times. Your seas will be running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean, and you can expect a low tide tonight at 11:39 p.m. For the southeast Bahamas, small craft, we're asking you to continue to exercise caution, and for you swimmers, to also exercise caution due to those rip currents. Winds will be east to southeast at 15 to 20 knots, with seas running 4 to 6 feet over the ocean. Here's a look at your national forecast. And in your extended forecast, as I promised, the sun will come out tomorrow on Wednesday. Thursday, we see 1 or 2 showers popping up here and there. On Friday through Saturday, beautiful conditions expected again. But hey, look on Sunday, 1 or 2 showers of blessings for you guys on Father's Day. But early next week, the sun will come out again. Highs in the upper 80s, low 90s, with your lows into upper 70s, low 80s. That puts a wrap on your evening forecast. Make it a great one, everyone.
All right, thanks, Ian. Sounds so positive. Well, this Sunday, fathers across the country will be celebrated. Tonight, our Jamila Mizik talks to residents about how they plan to spend the special day with their dads.
Every third Sunday in June, fathers and father figures across the globe are honored. And here in the Bahamas, whether it's dining on that famous crab and rice dish or spending time with family, Bahamian dads will be celebrated in their own unique way. These residents share what makes their dad special.
He's a godly man. He raised us to try to be so, and he takes care. He is a responsible man. He took care not of just of us, but of his own parents.
My father, he's an amazing guy, almost like a superhero, I would say. But he's a handy guy, so I'd probably buy him some tools, something. I mean, he have a lot, so something he doesn't have in his collection might bring a smile to his face.
But what does it mean to be a great father?
Just raise good citizens and godly children.
Well, I am following my father's footsteps. I never needed for anything, and I'm trying to do the same thing for my kids and my grandkids.
These fathers and now grandfathers share how they plan on spending their special day.
Well, I'll go to church to worship. Thank the good Lord for letting me live these 83 years.
Basically a quiet day with my lovely wife, Hope, and my 2 kids over here, and then calling my children and enjoying them during that time. And then also, of course, going to church.
While some super fathers have traded in their earthly cape for heavenly wings, these residents are still finding joy in the day by remembering Dad.
It's been tough, even though it's been about 30 years. He's really a good father, I don't know. And I remember him to be a really good provider for his 5 kids.
We have dinner and we celebrate together, even though my father isn't here. We still celebrate Father's Day with all the fathers.
Well, church and my mother. My father passed away, so every Father's Day we spend the day with Mom and, we reminisce on Daddy.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jamila Mizik.
All right, thanks, Jamila. Some great ideas for my father and I on Father's Day. Great story. And to see that story again, you can visit ournews.bs. And with that, we thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.